Hey Josh, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate you taking the time to share a little bit about your Quickbase story.
Yeah, sure thing. So I've been at Quickbase for about 3.5 years now, in a customer success role. But before that, I did something completely different. I was actually an automotive engineer. Um, I was a Quickbase customer. When I first started as an automotive engineer, I did that for almost 10 years. And I started out as a program manager. So I had a couple of vehicles that I was responsible for. We managed most everything we did in spreadsheets at that point in time. What our department was responsible for, we were in North America, like in the corporate headquarters. So we were responsible for all of change management within North America. So any plant within U.S. or Mexico, we handled change management for them. So that meant whenever one of our OEM customers, like Nissan or Honda, whenever they would reach out to us and say, "Hey, we've got a design change, or we have a new vehicle that we want to launch," our team was responsible for processing those engineering changes. We had to make engineering quotes. We had to update bills of materials for our plants. We had to do all that good stuff. We created our own internal engineering change document and then issued that to the plant or plants where it was applicable. Um, it was a quick process. It wasn't anything that took us a lot of time to do. Obviously, the bigger the change or the bigger the release, the more time it would take us to go through that. But it was a few hours worth of work. It wasn't too bad. But we didn't have great visibility to what we were doing. We operated in weeks most of the time. Um, we were slow to get those changes out to the plant. We hit a point where we were awarded a lot of business, and this was probably about 4 years after I started working there, 4 or 5 years, and we couldn't keep up. Um, it was it was bad. We started struggling. I was kind of frustrated. I started looking for, like, how do other people do this? What's the typical process? And like, I found that was an ERP system, which was months, probably years worth of implementation time, and it was millions of dollars. And we did not have the time at that point in time to do it, and the money was not something easy to get a hold of. So I started looking for alternative options. I found this word, or this phrase, relational database, and it seemed like that was something that I needed. That people had been able to make this work on their own through that. I started digging in more, and I found out what Microsoft Access was. I found out very soon after that I didn't want to know what Microsoft Access was. Um, I kind of got discouraged a little bit, and I wasn't looking as much, but I did stumble upon a website that said they were no code relational database. It's like, hey, that's what my research tells me I need. I know I don't want to code, and it's a relational database. So I took out a trial. Obviously, that was Quickbase. Um, I spent probably 2 weeks putting my two programs into the system. Um, I started out with basic information, like had a table for for the engineering change that came in. I had a table for the assembly level parts that were within that change. I had a table for our internal change document, and I started realizing, the power of the relational database, what it meant to be able to hook those things together. So a couple weeks in, I had everything running pretty smoothly. I went through and I'd backdated my programs to the beginning, and it was great. And I started to realize, like, I could do a bill of materials in this. So I spent a little bit of time leaning into that. I developed that. I was able to get that backdated, and we had a standing meeting that we did every week. Usually it was like 30 minutes, something like that. It didn't usually take too long, depending on what we had to talk about. So I went in there, I introduced this concept, and like, it hit home with everyone. They realized how great it was, and we decided to kind of adopt it department wide. So our development engineering group, we started using that around the board. Everyone else started putting their models in, and we grew that out to the point where it was successful. We had visibility to things that we didn't even know we needed. It took us from operating in weeks down to operating in days and hours. Before, we could never even put a KPI on the amount of time it took us to turn around and hand a change document back out to our internal folks. So we started out at a week, and like, we could make it no problem every time we were under a week. So we decided to get more aggressive. We set it to 3 days, um, and and for the time that I was there remaining, we always met that 3 day KPI. Um, So it was just magic, the visibility we had. Other departments started to recognize that visibility as well, or recognize that success as well. Our purchasing department, they reached out to us, and they were handling all of their pricing notifications within spreadsheets. 80% of what they needed was already in Quickbase because they were dealing with the same bills of materials, the same parts lists that we were. So it was easy for us just to add a few fields for them to be able to start tracking that there. So you could see how it continued to grow. Our plants started to notice. So our two largest plants in the U.S., we opened it up to them, and it was nice because they could see the changes coming down the pike before we ever released them. They could start to prepare. And on the backside of that, once we released the change, we could track their implementation rate. All the different departments that needed notification, we put that through Quickbase. So whether it was assembly or stamping or whatever department needed to have access to it, quality, they would get issued through Quickbase through a notification, which had previously been done through email, and it was hard to keep up with through email. You had to make sure you had the right folks copied on the email when you sent it out. So it was really just a fantastic experience all in all. I spent about 4 years working through that before I came to work for Quickbase. And we developed other things too. We did some scrap tracking, which proved to be very helpful. We started to be able to do some predictive maintenance stuff based on that. So a lot of wins in that category.
Great. And it sounds like this drastically changed like the day-to-day work life for you and a variety of different people over at your shop. Would you say Quickbase was, the most immediately noticed value? Was it like time saved, money saved, or like mitigating risk?
We didn't do a good job of turning it into money saved, but we did definitely recognize time savings. First and foremost, time savings, 100%. It was very noticeable. I think another thing that was noticeable was a little bit of risk mitigation because we had everything, all the data in one place. It was easier for everyone to come to one spot, whether they were in sales or purchasing or engineering, to see like a central point of truth for all that data. So I think we mitigated a lot of risk there, and maybe even a more direct way of doing that was we put a lot of our compliance type stuff in there. So all of our ISO documentation, all of our IATF, which is the automotive documentation, we put all that in Quickbase, and we were able to have all that live in one spot. All of our engineering documentation, whether it was from our customers or it was our own internal, it was all in one place. So whenever we had an audit, everything was in one spot again. And it made the audit much easier to go through.
Great. Now, Josh, I usually ask this in the form of an elevator pitch, but you being a man from Tennessee, you're in line at a barbecue, the brisket is going to be done in a few minutes, and someone in line wants to know what Quickbase is and what it does. How do you explain that to them in a few sentences?
Yeah, I'd say it's a great place for anyone that is a natural problem solver or a kind of a go-getter, someone that has a continuous improvement mindset. It's a good place for them to take any process that they're currently doing manually and to bring that in and start automating pieces of it, and to bring everyone together to work around that process in a single point of access.
Sure. Great. Thanks for that. I like that pitch. What would you say? What would you tell a younger Josh Kaylor who had just onboarded and discovered Quickbase at your previous company? Now that you've come over here, the platform itself has developed over the years. What do you know now that you wish you knew then?
I wish I had leaned in harder to learn webhooks at the time. That was the integration method. Actions were coming about right about the time I made my move to Quickbase. I would have liked to lean into that more. I would have told myself to spend more time in Quickbase University. I sit through fundamentals training occasionally with Apathons, and every time I sit through one of those, I learn something new. I've been building for 7, almost 8 years now, and I still learn something new every time I sit through one of those. So I would tell myself to focus more on training. Don't get in such a hurry to get it out there. Plan your apps out. It's a smart thing to do. I think that would be most of my advice. It's pretty tactical, but I think that would be it.
Tactical's good, especially when you're thinking about relational databases, right? Josh, I know you have a lot of insight and view into our product roadmap. Is there anything in particular that you are excited about in the upcoming months?
Yeah. So I think some of the mobile stuff we're doing, I'm glad we're starting to put some focus back there. Um, Dashboards coming out on mobile will be nice to see. Just new mobile forms. I think cleaning that up, making that a better experience for our customers is going to go a long way. There's so many folks out there that are not behind a laptop all the time that operate either on like an iPad or right off their phone that will benefit a lot from that.
Sure. And let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now. And one of the things that I happen to know that you're very involved with are apathons. And I would love for you to kind of dive into that a little bit and talk about your experience there.
Yeah, sure. So before we dive into a Quickbase apathon, maybe just an idea of what an apathon or a hackathon is in general. It's usually a competition where a problem is set forth or set before you, and you have to solve that problem um, through technology or through specific software. There's usually constraints around how you can do that, the amount of time you have, those types of things. What I think we do a good job of at Quickbase, rather than giving you a problem and having you focus on that, we talk to you and we get your leadership involved. We talk about your business objectives, the things that you're already working to solve, the things that are on your OKRs, your KPIs, the metrics you're running at. We talk about those things with you, and we target those to be the problem you're actually working on. We take that group, if they're new to Quickbase, we put them in fundamentals training. If they're experienced Quickbase builders, we lean in to figure out where they need help, where they want to grow, and we do some more intermediate or advanced training. But following that, we put those folks in groups of 3 to 5 people, and we sit them elbow to elbow with a build coach, where they can go through and they can run at that business objective that their leadership has defined and build that out in a matter of days. So it greatly accelerates the time to value to be able to launch that business objective to get it going.
Great. Thanks for that explanation. What else are you up to at Quickbase in your day to day now?
Day to day, I'm thinking a lot about governance lately. I found myself spending a lot of time in that realm, learning a lot about that, and how to efficiently help our customers be better at governing their realm.
Sure. Yeah, I think we've come a long way in best practices and how we've just our experience with helping some of our larger customer accounts feel that out and design it in a way that's meaningful and important to them.
Yeah.
Josh, this has been great. Would you do you have any tidbits or pieces of advice that you'd like to give customers that are watching this interview?
Yeah. Open up with your customer success team. Open up with your account executives. Talk to them about what it is your business is trying to do. The more they understand about that, the more they can guide you in the right direction and give you the tools that you need to succeed in those things. To truly partner with our customers, we need to understand what they're running at, what their business objectives are. The more we understand that, the more we can help you.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks again for taking the time today, Josh. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
All right.